Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to my vlog. This is the first one I've done since I arrived back in Cape Town a few days ago. It is great to be back, although I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things. Overseas travel always tends to kind of knock me off course in terms of my routine. But it is great to be back, and I'm very glad to have this opportunity to have a few words with you this evening. Today there's one or two issues that I'd like to talk about in particular. And I have to say first of all that I don't really want my vlogs to become too political in nature. But then I thought, well, you know, living and working in South Africa, in any African country, it's very difficult to avoid the issues of politics altogether, because they are obviously very closely intertwined with people's lives and people's livelihood. And obviously at the moment the situation in Zimbabwe is some cause for concern, with the recent election results evidently being withheld by the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission, which is in turn controlled by the ruling party. So it doesn't really bode well for democracy in Africa, and specifically the impression that other countries have of democracy in Africa, and how accessible it is and how honest it is. So the latest news I've been trying to follow it while I've been overseas, but obviously you do tend to get more in-depth information from local press, being here in South Africa, one of the neighbouring countries to Zimbabwe, of course. The latest news here in the Cape Argus being that the SADC is convening an emergency meeting. That's all the Southern African countries. Their leaders are getting together to have a discussion about the issue, and it seems like Robert Mugabe and the main opposition candidate in the election, they will both be there, along with Thabo Mbeki, the South African president. So it will be very interesting to see what transpires at that discussion, and I really hope, as I say, that they get it sorted out very quickly, because other countries tend to look at Africa as being a bit of a basket case, and especially with the recent violence in Kenya, which is also post-election violence. It's really not a good idea to continue to project that kind of lawlessness and the failure of the whole democratic system in another African country, especially as Zimbabwe is very close to home, being literally on the border of South Africa. It's going to be very harmful in the long run for the economy, which is why I would have expected the South African president to have had more of a hands-on role in helping to solve the situation in Zimbabwe, but he's had a very kind of laid-back, arm's-length approach. And in fact, I did send a text message into the Cape Argus, which has been printed. Just, you know, I do that from time to time. I like to make my little opinions heard. And I get probably about 2 or 3 printed every week, which is nice. It's nice to be able to have your say. And my latest one in today's Cape Argus was just simply, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but basically, why is the South African government really keeping their hands off this policy of quiet diplomacy for the last few years? Hasn't really contributed to preventing or even slowing down the worsening crisis in Zimbabwe. And now, even at this juncture, when they've had an election and the ruling party is withholding the results, it's been, what, 10 days, 12 days now since the election, and still the South African government, who probably has the most influence over Robert Mugabe, is still saying, no, we're not having anything to do with it. Seems to be a little bit irresponsible, and it's starting to look a little bit suspicious from an international perspective. So I hope they get that sorted out before too long. Anyway, moving away from politics now onto a slightly lighter note. One of the things I did while I was in England recently was to see my dad again. I haven't seen him for about 6 years, so it was quite nice to catch up. And he brought me a video camera, so thanks for that one, Dad. And it's great because now I'm going to be able to start making some high quality films. Obviously I've got a lot to learn about it, but and I will need to upgrade my hardware and software eventually. It's great for now, a great learning platform, so I'm really looking forward to being able to make some cool movies with that. At the moment I'm still just on my webcam here because I don't think my computer can handle the higher size of files that this camera produces. But I'm thinking of getting a little external hard drive to add to the laptop so that I can at least store some of the movie footage, and eventually get a DVD burner so I can put it straight onto DVD. Anyway, lots of exciting things happening in that direction. Still keen to make my documentary about African heritage. That's definitely on the cards. Meanwhile, I've got 3 weeks to wrap up my PhD thesis, get that handed in, and then move on to the next stage in my life. And of course I hope to be able to share all developments with you guys. So do keep watching, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Bye for now.